Very good. What I'm going to do is actually to give you a kind of insight in how we think about how this fund is working. We have called this a Norwegian approach towards plastics and its pollution. Just going to move that one so I can see what I'm going to say. And as you know, this is a fund. What we actually do, we are funding projects. So the first thing I'm going to tell you about, I believe some of you have seen this before, but it's where is the money coming from? The money is coming from plastic bags, really. And every time a Norwegian customer buys a plastic bag, and a certain amount of that goes into the fund. What we do with this money is actually to put them into environmental projects again. It all has to do with plastics. So it's the consumers that really are paying it. So this is an alternative to a tax. But a tax would have been divided into different good areas. It could be into hospitals, some into environment, something into roads, etc. What we do, we can earmark all the money on plastic projects. So we are quite happy about that. It adds up to around 350 million Norwegian crowns, which is approximately 35 million euro every year. Right now, we actually use most of the money we collect. And it's hard to use money in the right way. But this is one of the projects that we finance, and we are very happy about that. And it seems to me this is going really the right way with the project. So this is from the Norwegian consumers, really. So we are taking care of their money, and we are doing it in a good way, I would say. Our purpose is actually, oh, sorry, it's too many things here. Okay, we are doing three things, really. We are reducing plastic littering. We are increasing plastic recycling, and we are reducing plastic bag consumption. All these things you know very well. But when it comes to number two, increasing plastic recycling, we are changing that a little bit now. We're thinking more about plastic circularity, and that also involves not only increasing the recycling, but it also includes reducing the use of plastics. Because also production and especially disposal of plastic comes with the CO2 emissions. So we need, also in Norway, we need to reduce the amount. And today we use, for example, a lot of plastic bags. I think we use most plastic bags in the world. And we are not going out to nature, but we're going into the kitchen, and they stay in the kitchen. That means it's a resource that is not being utilized. So it also means that we're buying too much. So it's very easy for us to reduce the amount of plastic bags. It does not have any negative impact whatsoever. So to give you an idea about how we're thinking, our vision is to keep plastic in loop, to keep it out of nature. That's really what it's all about. But we also need a little bit more goals, really. And when you saw the purposes on the former slide, so we want to prevent and remove plastic littering, increase resource efficiency and recycling, and we are not only reducing plastic bags, we also reduce plastic consumption all over. That means one of the things is to reduce them. Another thing is to substitute it with other materials. So what we see in Norway, actually, to have a sound plastic policy, we need to substitute some of the plastic we use today. And like it seems right now, paper is the best material to substitute it with. The three things we are actually funding is cleanups and removing plastic from nature. And the same again, reducing plastic consumption, increase recycling, and prevent plastic recycling. Not to prevent plastic recycling, to increase plastic recycling, sorry. And we also use a lot of money to provide new knowledge. So, because as some of the former speakers said, knowledge is really key to solve the plastic problem. And we also are very into getting real results out of the money. So these are some of the results that we already can show after a couple of years activity in Norway. We have removed 1,700 tons of plastics from the coastline. That's quite a lot. If you just imagine that one trailer is approximately 30 tons when you compress it, that will give you an idea. And this is plastic from the coastline, which is very difficult to collect. So you need people out on the islands, you know, up in the Arctic. So it takes a lot of time and it's a hard work. We have cleaned up more than 5,000 kilometers coastline over the last 2 years. Norway has the second largest coastline in the world after Canada, so it will take time. But we believe this idea we have about cleaning the coastline, that means 40% of the outer coastline, that we will reach that within 2023. We have also increased the use of recycled plastics by almost 10,000 tons already in 2021. It will increase in 2023 up to 20,000 tons. That means we will actually replace the virgin plastics with recycled plastics, because we are willing to pay for them to use recycled plastic and try to replace it. And it seems like it's quite easy in some areas, in construction, for example. At the same time, we see some barriers. For example, to installation in tunnels, for example, there is some strange rule saying it's only permitted with 10% recycled material. And that means it's very hard to find ways to use it. So these are some of the things we're going to work on, how to change that. Because if you can just increase that to 20%, it's a lot more material that can go into that kind of products. Then when you're talking about circular economy and replace virgin plastics, it's a lot of things with pens, pencils, etc. that are made now very small products. They are very visible, but are not big volumes. So the big volumes are in construction mainly. Pipes, things like that. This is really where we can use a lot of recycled material. I will get back to that. We have also reduced the plastic bag consumption by 22% measured against 2016. And we are going to reduce it even more. Yes, I mentioned the first one of these operational goals, 48% of outer Norwegian coastline cleaned within 2023. We also have a plan. We have made a plan how to recycle 50% of all plastics in Norway within 2025. Sorry about some small errors there, but when I need to make a comment on Helge's presentation before, because some of it, what we are mainly doing today is focusing on packaging and plastic packaging. We think that we can do a lot more than that, because a lot of the plastic that are not packaging is even easier recyclable. There are not so many different kinds of substances in it, and some of it's rigid plastic, which is quite easy to recycle. There's just no system to collect it in a smart way. Plastic bags, we are going to reduce the consumption by 50% from 2016 to 2025. We will use two ways to do it, or two things we're going to do, 2 means. We are going to increase the fee we are charging for the plastic bags. That will probably increase the price out to the customer. And we will do a lot of campaigning to tell people to use the plastic bags more than one time. Today, approximately 70% of all the Norwegian plastic bags is being used also for littering. So they're already used twice. But if you can just use them 1 or 2 times more, when you take them to the shop, that also adds up a lot to reduce consumption. I will mention a couple of these projects we are working on. I saw that this one has not been shared with you before. It's a very interesting project. It's about cleaning up ghost fishing gear in protected marine areas. We are working together with the Institute for Marine Research in Norway. They are extremely clever. And what we wanted to do is actually to have a very knowledge-based cleanup. So, but you know, researchers want to do research, but here they also want to be a part of the guys that are really taking part of the conservation. And to conserve this in the right way, we need to clean it. So what we are doing is actually finding out how can we find lobster traps, fishing nets, etc., that has been discarded. And what we have found is really amazing in a negative way. On a quite short coastline, we find there is 200,000 traps standing. 25% of them are ghost fishing. That makes a lot of impact on all fishing and all fish and lobster, shellfish, etc. So it takes time to find them, but now we know where we can find them. We have used a lot of time to find out that. We are using ROVs to find it and also to take them up from the bottom, using divers if that's the best way to do it. And from next year, we are also going to use UAVs, that is unmanned submarines that are autonomous. So we also work all the time, we are also working with artificial intelligence in this project. You can imagine when you're looking at the sea bottom and look through the water, it's quite gray. And you're getting quite tired after 1 hour of looking at that. So we have realized that using artificial intelligence to identify things like that is much more efficient than human eyes. This is really where AI can be used in a smart way. Yeah, so yeah. I still have a couple of minutes. I'll just tell you about the big cleanup we are doing. That's I'm going to tell you how we do it, because what we see is volunteer cleanup is not enough. Especially when you have a coast like the Norwegian coast, which is very harsh, many places. Some of it is in the Arctic. And a lot of what they find is things where you need very good equipment, you need boats to get out there. And it's very often that the most interesting environment is where there are no people, of course. And because there are no people, nobody's cleaning up all the shit coming in from the sea. So that's what we are doing now, removing 40% of that. We're doing that together with representatives from the regional governments. And so we are making a plan, and then we are actually buying the services to clean up. So we're doing that all over the coast right now. And it seems like we are reaching our goal to remove all microplastics from 40% of the outer coastline within 2023. So these are some of the guys. You see the snow in the background, so it can be quite cold. So a project that might be of interest to you, just to know about them, EPR. I know we have some EPR systems in South Africa. This is focused at Nigeria and might be also be spread out after Nigeria. What UNEP is saying is to have an EPR to work, they need to have a middle class. So that's why Nigeria is chosen for this project right now. We also have a project with about the capacity to handle plastic waste, really. And this one is going on in Zimbabwe and in Malawi right now. So we will see some results of that at the end of the year.
For sort of outlining all that. I haven't seen any messages come through in the chat specifically for the last few presentations, but if anyone does have those, you're welcome to send them through in the chat. And Samuel, do you want to unmute and ask your question?
Sure. Eirik, I just wanted to mention that one of the projects that we are doing in cohort 2 is based around fishing gear. That's washing in the time in which this project has been running in Norway. Have you come across any abandoned, lost, or otherwise discarded fishing gear on beaches, or is it just specifically within the marine environment that you guys are looking?
It's 6% of what we find in the northern of Norway on the coast is fishing gear, or litter from the fishing industry and from fish farming. Some of it is historical. The other one is what we pick up from the bottom, which is mainly traps, lobster traps, etc. So we do both. But we see a lot, and up in the north, 86% is then from the fishing business, and approximately 16% personal.
Okay.
But we don't know where the personal comes from. It might also come from boats, for example.
Okay.
We don't know.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sam.